Even with Katie Beckett Medicaid, we still have a lot of out-of-pocket expenses every month. Supplements, nutritional shakes, dyslexia tutoring, homeschool supplies, community programs that providers recommend, but that are just not in the budget. It all adds up fast. So when someone in one of my Facebook groups mentioned family support services, I was like, yes, this is what I've been looking for. And then I tried to apply for it, which is its own story. Today I'm sharing my experience with family support services, finding it, applying for it, and what happened after we were approved. If you want the step-by-step walkthrough of the actual application, I have a separate video for that, and I'll link it below when it comes live. So, what is family support services? Who qualifies, and why did I want it? Family support services is a Georgia program that provides funding to help families cover the costs related to their child's disability that aren't covered by insurance or Medicaid. Things like supplements, nutritional shakes, adaptive equipment, therapy services, and community memberships. Expenses that are real and necessary, but that fall into that gap where you make too much to qualify for full assistance, but not enough to comfortably cover the costs for everything your kid needs. So who qualifies? According to the state of Georgia, this is the language that they use. To be eligible, your child needs to have an intellectual or developmental disability. So diagnoses like autism, Down syndrome, or other developmental diagnoses. I'll link the state resource page in the description. Currently, the program can provide up to $3,000 a year in support funds per child. There's also a separate allocation for respite care, which is essentially temporary relief care for caregivers so that they can take a break. And I'll talk more about that in a minute because there's something worth knowing about the respite piece. So the way family support services works is there are local community-based providers in your region that get a contract with the state to be the point of contact for families. You get your application through them, you submit it back to them, and they handle the process with the state getting it approved. And then if you're approved, they become your ongoing contact for reimbursements and claims. On paper, it sounds pretty straightforward. So trying to actually apply. When I heard about this program, I went online, went to the website. For my region, I found 2 providers that were listed, and I called and I emailed both of them. One of them responded right away, telling me that they no longer had the contract with the state and to contact the other provider, but I hadn't heard anything from them. So I submitted another message through their portal. I emailed them. I called at another time. So I did this for about a month off and on. I had no luck at all. So what did I do? Constituent services again. If you've watched my other Georgia videos, this is my go-to when I'm not getting anywhere through normal channels, and I'll link that in the description. I submitted a request and received an email, and I was CC'd on it, where they contacted the point of contact person directly and requested that she provide an application to me. And I got a follow-up email saying that it was resolved. Well, a week went by, never heard anything. I replied to that email, never heard anything. So then I went back to that ticket that said it was resolved, and I reopened that ticket. Then I started calling different offices until I reached the person that had CC'd me on the email to start with. And she gave me the direct number for the point of contact. I then called that number and I was able to get in contact with the person that's responsible for our region. So it's going to be a little different depending on the region that you're in, and hopefully you don't have the same issues that I had. But if you're stuck and you can't get a hold of the local provider, here's the escalation path that I would suggest. First, try to submit through the provider's website contact form. Then try email. If that doesn't work, call their main number and try every other option to reach a human. And then if you're still not getting anywhere, contact constituent services, and also try calling the DBHDD main office directly to ask for help connecting you with your regional provider. It's more steps than it should be, but it is workable, and you just keep trying until someone will help you. So when I finally did speak to the community provider in my area, she asked what support services I was hoping to get. I mentioned supplements and nutritional shakes, and she gave a heads up that she would need prescriptions for any of of those from a doctor. And I didn't see that anywhere on the application, so I'm grateful that she gave me that heads up to save me some time. And then I submitted the applications for both of my boys. You do need to fill out an application for each child if you have more than one that needs services. About a week later, she confirmed the receipt of the application that I sent her, asked a few follow-up questions, and then sent everything to the state. About 2 weeks after that, maybe a little less, she texted me to let me know that we were approved and that we needed to set up an intake phone call for us to go over everything and to get services started. So we booked that about 2 weeks out based on both of our availabilities. But I do want to say, despite the rocky start that we had in getting connected with the provider, the application process actually had a pretty quick turnaround. And so then when we had that intake phone call, I got to understand a little more about what to expect with this family support services program. A few things worth mentioning: there is a nutritional cap for funding. I was expecting to use all of the money for one of my kids just for nutritional supplements because we spend more than the $3,000 cap in a year. But unfortunately, they said that we could only use a certain amount for that. So I was a little disappointed in that, but it did open my son up to being able to qualify for other services since all of his money wasn't going to be just used for that. And there is a separate allocation for respite care, but she did mention that there is a shortage in providers for respite care. So she said if I knew anyone, friends, family members that are interested in getting trained in respite care, to encourage them to go through the process, and then we would be able to use them as our respite care providers. But she said, obviously, if that is not an option for us, that they would try to work with us to find us someone. If you know someone that's interested in providing respite care for families, definitely encourage them to apply and to look into it. So here's how reimbursement works. You do have the option for home deliveries and for companies to directly invoice the community provider, or you can pay out of pocket and then submit receipts and the reimbursement form and get reimbursed. I chose the second option. I felt like it would give us a little more flexibility with what we need. So she said that every month I will need to submit the receipts plus the reimbursement form for the previous month at the beginning of the month. So for all of May, I would submit that at the beginning of June and so forth. And she also gave me a form that's a budget form to keep track of our expenses so that we don't overspend. But she said if we had made any purchases from the time that we had submitted the application to now, we could submit those and start getting reimbursements right away. So here are some of the things that we're hoping to use our funding for: nutritional shakes and supplements within the nutritional cap, AFO socks, a YMCA family membership, swim lessons, and jujitsu. By the end of the intake phone call, she had already reached out to the YMCA coordinator and CC'd me on the email for that and sent me the reimbursement form and all the other paperwork and information that I needed to get the ball rolling. So that was pretty cool. And then 2 days after she had sent that email, I got a call from the YMCA representative, and she set us up with our family membership. The family membership adds 1 adult and then 6 dependents. So I was able to add all of my children, not just the children that were approved for the application. That is pretty awesome and very helpful for our family. And then they said if we wanted to add my husband as well, there was a minimal fee that he could pay every month to also use the services, which is huge for us because since we've become a one-income family, gym membership has never been in the budget for us. But what was really cool, she said that my 2 sons were also eligible for adaptive aquatic swim lessons. These are one-on-one swim lessons with professionals that are trained to work with kids with special needs. And this can range from someone with ADHD to someone with major mobility struggles. To be honest, I teared up a little bit when she told me this. Getting swim lessons for my kids has been a struggle. And for someone to call me and basically hand me a family membership and hand me adaptive swim lessons that just make the process so easy when these processes can often be so hard, it was just such a relief to talk to this person and to start feeling the support right away. And so I will share these things as they unfold for our family. But here's what I want you to take away now. The process to get connected was genuinely frustrating for me, but that might not be the case for all families. But if it is the case, do not give up. Continue to escalate your calls and your emails and your messages until you get a hold of someone. But then once I did get through, the process was actually really fast, especially when you compare it to other programs out there. Point of contact was helpful. The intake call was thorough. We were told we could start funds immediately, and within 2 days, we were already getting the ball rolling in services. Family support services is definitely worth pursuing. So the application walkthrough will be its own video, so keep a lookout for that. And I'll link it in this video's description once it's live. It'll walk you through each step in each form so that you'll know exactly what to fill out and what to skip. If you've been through this or have any questions, drop them in the comments. And if you're just getting started with Georgia Medicaid programs, the playlist below is a great place to start. And I'm Mary Ellen Yates, and this is Growing Together, Neurodiversity at Home.